A ghost just broke out of hell. Grant Hardin, 56 years old, former police chief, once the symbol of law and order, is now on the run from the very walls meant to hold him. He's 6 feet tall, bald as a cue ball, and weighs 258 pounds, big enough to rip a car door off if he feels like it. On the afternoon of May 25th, at North Central Unit in Calico Rock, Arkansas, Hardin slipped out like the whole prison system just hit the snooze button. And now, the man who once wore a badge has the whole state looking over its shoulder. Authorities say extremely dangerous. If you see him, do not approach. Roadblocks have gone up across Stone and Izard counties. Every car pulled, checked, searched. But the scariest part isn't that a convicted felon escaped. It's that he used to be the guy in charge of locking people up. Our biggest fear is that Hardin might hijack a car or take someone hostage, said the Stone County sheriff. A sheriff? Talking about a former sheriff. The law is now chasing the darkness that once wore its uniform. And if you still believe that a badge always equals integrity, you might want to think twice before driving through Calico Rock. The name Grant Hardin doesn't just rattle folks in Arkansas anymore. Now, the whole world is staring straight into a nightmare dressed like a cop. After a prison break straight out of Hollywood, global media started digging. And what they found was a past dark enough to freeze the blood of anyone who still believes in justice. In 2017, he was convicted of murder, sentenced to 30 years. In 2018, he pled guilty to rape and kidnapping. 50 more years in jail. But the most chilling part? It's not the numbers. It's the fact that when he committed those crimes, he was the chief of police. A cruel twist of fate. Or just the rotten fruit of a system too broken to notice the monsters it feeds. The story was so disturbing. Investigation Discovery turned it into a true crime documentary. And now, the doc just got itself a sequel. With a script no one saw coming. The cop turned killer just broke out. In the Hardin case, search teams were supported by tracking dogs, mounted officers, drones, and helicopters. The FBI and U.S. Marshals offered a $25,000 reward for any information leading to Hardin's recapture. Social media blew up. This guy knows how to break every rule. That makes him lethal. Bet the TV networks are cashing in big on his escape. He's got help. No way he's doing this alone. And the coldest take of them all. If a max security prison can't hold him, who can? Some are curious, some are furious. But everyone agrees on one thing. Grant Hardin should not be free. Not for one more second. May 25, in the afternoon. Just another ordinary day at an Arkansas state prison. Until one man vanished into thin air. Like a magician in broad daylight. At North Central Unit, they counted over 1,000 inmates. 999 were accounted for. The 1,000th, Grant Hardin, was gone. And his escape? Not even exaggerating. It played out like a full-blown Hollywood thriller. Except this wasn't a movie. No director, no reshoots, just raw, brutal reality. And it left the police scrambling. And an entire community shaking. For 20 chaotic minutes, officers searched for a ghost who had been planning his exit long before anyone noticed. 20 minutes of confusion. No trace, no goodbyes, just gone. Hardin was wearing a corrections officer's uniform, pushing a utility cart, walking straight through a secure gate like he belonged there. No one stopped him. No one raised an eyebrow. Because who questions a guy dressed like one of their own? And just like that, a convicted killer and rapist walked right out the front door. No barbed wire climbs, no Shawshank Tunnel, just a borrowed uniform, a cart, and a terrifying level of confidence. So where did the uniform come from? Did he steal it, trade for it? Or did someone hand it to him? Was it a threatened staff member, a guard on the take? Or maybe, just maybe, a system way too confident in its own illusion of order? Right now, no one knows where Hardin is. In the woods, in a city, in another state, maybe already out of the country. What we do know is this: a former police chief, a convicted murderer, a rapist, is now roaming free. And the justice system is basically hoping he doesn't do something worse. But to understand why this is more than just an embarrassment, you have to go back. People in Arkansas, they know the name Grant Hardin all too well. Former police chief of Gateway. He'd been reported for abuse of power, excessive force, falsifying police reports, over and over. But somehow, he stayed. Still had the badge, still had the gun, still called the protector of justice. On the day he escaped, folks in Arkansas didn't just panic. They remembered every victim, every bruise, every body left behind by the man who once wore the badge. James Appleton, 59, a city water employee, was shot in the head while sitting in his car. Chatting on the phone, no fight. No warning, no reason, just dead. In court, Hardin offered this cold, pathetic excuse. I don't know how to express it. I'm sorry. He got 30 years for that, but that wasn't the end. Not even close. During the investigation, officials stumbled upon a match. Hardin's DNA lined up perfectly with evidence from a 20-year-old rape case. Amy Harrison, an elementary school teacher, had lived with that trauma for over 2 decades. She was raped in the very school where she taught by a man wearing a badge. He pointed a gun at her head as she stepped out of the restroom. She never forgot the cold steel. She never forgot the look in his eyes when he forced himself on her. For 20 years, she couldn't say his name. No one believed her. No one investigated. The blood on her clothes was the only thing that remembered. And when the DNA finally matched the man who raped her, he had become a police chief. From 1997 to 2017, how many others did he hurt? How many complaints were buried because the abuser wore a uniform? No one knows. All we know is, every year that Grant Hardin wore a gun and a badge, fear silently spread like mold in the walls of justice. He smiled in parades. He shook hands on Main Street. He stood there, a rapist in plain sight. And yes, you heard that right. After the rape, the system still let him become a police chief. Because in America, sometimes if you wear the right uniform and keep things clean, maybe you can do all the wrong things. How many other Amy's are out there? How many people are still shaking in the dark, knowing their abuser is protected by a badge? There's something almost surreal about the real-life movie called Grant Hardin. He walked out of prison in broad daylight, wearing a corrections officer uniform, pushing a cart, and breezed past an entire security system built to stop people like him. A system that missed a rape. A system that let him become a cop after that. A system that waited for a murder to dig up the past. And now, a system that's lost him all over again. Not a monster born in the shadows, but one raised in the light.
You think you're safe? Maybe you should think again.
Because we don't know how many Grant Hardins have already slipped through the cracks, hiding in plain sight, waiting in some quiet corner for the next desperate victim to come along. When Grant Hardin walked out of that prison gate on May 25th. It wasn't just a prison break. It wasn't just a monster escaping a cage. It was a slap in the face to the justice system America claims to be proud of. Just a week before Grant Hardin slipped out of an Arkansas prison, 10 inmates had broken out of jail in New Orleans. The U.S. justice system was already in a full-blown trust crisis nationwide. Prison security was cranked up to high alert. Roadblocks went up. Surveillance doubled. Every gate was supposed to be locked down tight. And yet, Grant Hardin walked right out, like the lockdown memo somehow missed him. No fence hopping, no busted locks, no digging through a tunnel with a spoon. Just a uniform, a utility cart, and the confidence of a man who knew exactly how to play the system. A high-risk felon escaped during the most heightened security moment in recent memory. If that's not a slap in the face to the entire prison system, then what is? But the slaps didn't stop there. Shane Wilkinson, the attorney who once defended Hardin in his murder case, is now living with a different kind of fear. He knows his former client was deeply bitter about the 30-year sentence. And now that Hardin's free, no one can say for sure that Wilkinson's name isn't somewhere on a revenge list. And then there's Amy Harrison, the elementary school teacher. After 20 years of silence, had the courage to stand up and expose the monster who raped her. Is she being protected now? Can she sleep through the night, knowing the man who held a gun to her head is walking free? Will the police protect her, or will they fail one more time, when those who used to enforce the law become the ones breaking it? And when an entire system gets fooled by a costume change, who's left to believe justice will actually show up on time? Let's start with the question everyone's been thinking. How did a violent, reckless man like Grant Hardin manage to serve as police chief for decades? How many times was he suspended? How many incident reports were falsified? How many complaints got quietly filed away in some drawer marked "Do Not Disturb"? And more importantly, who protected him? Was it a buddy on the inside? A fellow officer? Or an entire system that decided to look the other way? Just to keep the peace? The rape of Amy Harrison, an elementary school teacher, happened in 1997. DNA was left behind, undeniable evidence. Yet, the case sat cold for over 20 years. Why? Because she was a woman? Because she'd face victim blaming? Or maybe because the attacker wore a badge? For 2 full decades, Grant Hardin walked free. He climbed the ranks, wore the badge and carried a gun, gave orders. Who let that happen? And where are those people now? After 12 days on the run, hiding in every crack and corner he could find, authorities finally tracked Grant Hardin down and deep in the Ozark Mountains. And that location, it only fueled suspicions that he had a hit list, that he was planning to silence someone, a victim, a lawyer, or both. Why would he return to the Ozarks again, slipping between the trees and brush of a heavily monitored area, if he was as tactical and calculated as everyone claimed? This move made no sense, unless he had a reason to be there. And clearly he did. Cheryl Tillman, mayor of Gateway, Arkansas, and sister of murder victim James Appleton, voiced her disbelief and deep frustration after learning about Hardin's escape. She admitted she hesitated to even go to work once she heard the news. And rightly so, according to Tillman. Neither she nor any of the other known victims received alerts or protection following Hardin's prison break. It's as if the witness protection system had glitched out. But even her fear couldn't compare to that of Amy Harrison, the woman who bravely came forward, filed the rape complaint, and delivered the DNA evidence that tore the badge off Hardin's chest and forced him to face justice. Or at least some of it. And it wasn't just Amy. Shane Wilkinson, the defense attorney who once represented Hardin, spent all 12 days in a state of silent panic. 12 days. A notorious predator with a track record of striking without warning was lurking in the woods of Ozark. And this time, he had a purpose, and really,
What's more terrifying than that?
Thankfully, the chase ended before his next move began, because no matter how calculated his plan was, even Hardin couldn't outrun the heat of an all-out manhunt. With the eyes of the FBI and U.S. Marshals locked in, it was only a matter of time. But for a man like him, it's not prison he fears, it's exposure. The unraveling of every name, every connection, every dirty handshake in the dark.
And here's the twist that keeps investigators up at night. Grant, Hardin wasn't acting alone. He had a plan. He had people. He had time. After years in uniform, he didn't just gain authority. He built a network of those willing to cover for him when the time came. Who gave him the corrections officer uniform? Who helped him walk out of that prison so casually, like he was just heading down the hall of his own office?
And maybe catching Grant Hardin isn't the end of the story. Law enforcement still has plenty of work to do to patch the gaping hole in their own system.
Every second he's free is another slice into the public's trust. Every day he hides is a brutal reminder. The law doesn't always win.
In a country where guns are stashed in glove compartments, any escaped convict can become a mass casualty event before sunset.
And the most chilling thought, when the monsters used to wear the badge, who's left to protect justice when justice once belonged to a devil? Maybe it's time America stopped putting lipstick on its justice system. Maybe it's time to look deep and ask the real questions. Why does this country keep producing killers disguised as protectors? And why does the system keep letting them slip away? We don't just tell stories, we issue warnings. Because honestly, who knows if the guy next to you is just another antisocial killer, fresh out of prison? Like and subscribe to stay updated on our ongoing case files. Don't wait around for the system to fix the cracks. Arm yourself with knowledge and stay alert.